Hey, what's going on, guys? It's FPL Yusuf here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be going into my final team selection ahead of the game week 10 deadline. I'm going to be showing you guys some potential transfers that I'm looking to make either tonight or tomorrow morning, as well as my team lineup going into the deadline. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here today with me on my YouTube channel for another video. Before we get into this one, if you wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, before I get into this video, I just want to say apologies if the audio or, I sound a bit different today. I'm actually suffering with a little bit of a cold right now, so my apologies on that one. But I'm going to get straight into my transfers now. Now, this week for me, I think there's kind of two routes that I'm looking to go, and I'm going to put both transfer scenarios on screen now. First one is just going to be one free transfer, and it's going to be Danny Welbeck being moved to Johan Visser. Now, in an ideal world, I do think, as good as Johan Visser is, I do think Matthias Cunha is the better player, I guess, for the longer run. I think Visser's got great short-term fixtures for the next sort of 3 or 4 game weeks, but I think Cunha's span sort of runs over a course of 7-8 game weeks. Now, the issue is I don't have the money to go from Welbeck to Cunha, so that's why I've got Johan Visser on screen right now. I currently only have 0.3 million in the bank. The reason why I'm not loving this one in particular is because I know from game week 12 I actually want Danny Welbeck back, so it would cost me 2 transfers over 2 weeks to take him out and then to bring him back in, and I just don't see a real upside with that. Now, obviously, Brighton play Liverpool and Man City in the next 2 game weeks, which aren't great. But as we saw from last night in the Carabao Cup, Brighton did manage to score 2 goals against Liverpool. Welbeck didn't start that game. He got rested, which just shows me that he's going to be their main man for the Premier League. So I'm a little bit more hesitant on this side of things, to be honest with you. And I think I may well end up just keeping Danny Welbeck for this week and maybe benching him for someone else, because I think come game week 12, I'm going to want him back, and I just don't see the upside from moving him out for 2 weeks to then just bring him back. It just seems like a waste of a transfer. I'm going to have to buy him back at a more expensive price than I got him for. So yeah, the upside is kind of low on this one. So yeah, like I said, for me, this is one potential that I was considering, but it's probably going to be the second one, as you guys can see on screen, which actually is a -4. So at the time of recording, I don't actually know what's happening with Gabriel. We heard Arteta say that he's more confident about Gabriel playing. If Arsenal had maybe a lesser team on the weekend, maybe there'd be more room to rest Gabriel. But obviously, we've heard that Calafiori is going to be out for a few weeks. Arsenal have got a few injuries here and there, so I think they'd probably want to get their as best of defence out as possible. Now, that for me, I do think Gabriel will play. I think he'll start, and I think he will play. Why I actually haven't made a transfer yet, because I want to kind of just wait and see or try and get as much news around him as possible. Now, the thing for me here is thinking that ideally I would like to drop him down to Konate. It saves me money, which would then allow me to move Calvert-Lewin or Welbeck up to a Cunha or to a of Johan Visser, depending on which player I want to go with. But I think, to be honest with you, for me, it's looking more likely that it's going to be, this one here in particular, where if we don't hear any good news on Gabriel, then Konate will be the guy coming in. I mean, at longer term, especially from game week 12, I probably do want to get Konate in. I do think Liverpool's defence have actually been very good this season, and I think it's kind of maybe gone a little bit under the radar, just because obviously they haven't kept, obviously the Arsenal game, I don't think anyone was really expecting a clean sheet from either side, but I think Liverpool can be very impressed with the way they've defended this season, and Konate at the price he offers, I think is a really cheap and good way into that Liverpool defence, especially once Alisson comes back as well. This was the other potential transfer where I do take a -4 to drop Gabriel down to Konate and then to move either Welbeck or Calvert-Lewin up to probably Matthias Cunha in this case. Now, I'm a little bit hesitant to remove DCL, despite how bad he's been. No goals in the last 5 games, despite putting up the XG for it. It's Southampton. They are, no disrespect to any Southampton fans out there, they really are struggling this year defensively. So as bad as Calvert-Lewin's been, I kind of want to give him one more week. Now, don't get me wrong, next week, 100%, he will be gone from my team. There's just so many other strikers around that price who are performing. Like I said, Johan Visser, Raul Jimenez, Danny Welbeck. Obviously, I've still got him there. Chris Wood, Matthias Cunha, Strand Larsen. There's so many of them. And I just feel like Calvert-Lewin, he's had this good fixture run, which is why I brought him in on wildcard. It just hasn't worked. So this is also another potential that I take the -4 to get rid of him. The last setting is that I just roll. And I think this is also something that I'm sort of considering at the moment is if I can find a way, just if we hear, or at least if we hear good news about Gabriel, then I don't really think there's a need for me to actually make a transfer this week. I could just hold off and just wait and see, what happens, give myself 2 free transfers for next week. So yeah, I'd say right now it's probably a 40% split between rolling 40 for taking the -4 and then maybe like a 20% just doing the one transfer. But like I said about the Danny Welbeck thing, I just feel like I'm going to want him back. So yeah, it's probably between the -4 or just rolling this week. Okay, so without making any transfers this week, this is what my current team lines up going into game week 10 for. So David Raya in goal and obviously doubled up with Gabriel at the back. Now, Newcastle haven't been that great. They are better at home, there's no doubt about that, but they haven't really been that amazing this season. They haven't really hit heights of maybe parts of them that they were doing last season. Now, that is probably the same for Arsenal as well. They haven't been as good defensively as they were last season. I do think once Arsenal, have their full squad back, Odegaard's back in, I do expect Arsenal to sort of start churning out those clean sheets as well. So for me, I'm happy to play both of them. I'd probably say there's more chance of them getting a clean sheet than no them not, in my opinion. But there might be a little bit biased there. I am an Arsenal fan, so yeah, I'm gonna just go with the double Arsenal defense and just hope for the best with it. Nico Lewis got his clean sheet finally last week against Southampton. Only 1-0 from Man City, which was maybe a little bit underwhelming for a lot of us. But for me, I think Kyle Walker's still at this point, which means Rico Lewis will probably start. Going away to Bournemouth, not an easy fixture, but not a hard one either by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't mind having him start. And then Michael Keane, obviously the last one up, has got Southampton. Great fixture on paper. The two defenders I've got on the bench are Pau Torres and Mazraoui, who played Tottenham and Chelsea respectively. So fixture-wise, it's definitely with Michael Keane. He's been actually racking up some decent points over the last few weeks as well. So yeah, I'm happy to own him and happy just to put him in there as well to create that back three for me. The four across the midfield is probably a four, which I think a lot of people will have. Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka and Brian Mbeumo in particular, them three, and obviously I have got Brennan Johnson in there. So Spurs coming off the back of a great win against Man City in the Carabao Cup, so I'm excited to see what Brennan Johnson can do away to West Ham. West Ham haven't been that fantastic this season, especially on the defensive side of things, so I do definitely think that there are goals for this Spurs attack in that game. Arsenal, as I said, I touched on the defence, going away to Newcastle, never an easy place. I don't see it being a massively high-scoring game, though. I think it will probably be a 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, that type of thing. So probably not a massive upside, but obviously if you own the right players who actually do return, then you are laughing. It's obviously a little bit harder because you've got two teams going at each other who, both have quality players on either side. But Bukayo Saka, for me, definitely starting. Cole Palmer, again, kind of just goes without saying, he's going... This one's going to be an interesting one because he's going up against the Manchester United, who've just come off the back of, unfortunately sacking Eric Ten Hag, which is Van Nistelrooy's taken over. They got a big 5-2 win in the cup against Leicester last night as well, so they are in good spirits as well. However, I do think the way Chelsea have been attacking this season so far, especially Palmer and Jackson in particular, I do think that there will be chances for them in this game. I'm not sure which way it's going to go in terms of score wise and win wise, but I do think Palmer will have his chances and he will also create chances in this game. So for me, he has to be in there. And finally, last but not least, Brian Mbeumo. A lot of people saying that he is technically, pound for pound, especially money-wise, the best asset in FPL. So yeah, for me, again, the midfield kind of just picks itself this week. Semenyo's away at Man City, so I'm never going to pick him. So we're just going to leave the four across the midfield for the time being. Finally, the three up front, obviously, Danny Welbeck, not the best fixture in the world against Liverpool. However, as I touched on earlier, Brighton did manage to put 2 past Liverpool in the Carabao Cup despite losing the game. Welbeck is obviously their starting man. I do think that Brighton will get chances against Liverpool, despite it being at Anfield. I do think they will get chances. I just need to hope that he takes one. Calvert-Lewin, again, going away to Southampton. I'm hoping that as this is his last game in my team, he's going to go out with a bang. A brace, a hat-trick, anything like that would be more than welcomed. But like I said, Everton don't really score a lot of goals on the road anyway. However, Southampton aren't defending that well. So it's kind of like it could go either way with this one. But I just couldn't bring myself to get rid of DCL before Southampton. I think after this week, like I said, 100%, there's so many other options that I could go to. But I think for this week in particular, I'm just going to have to hold him for one final time. Not least, the most talked about man in FPL this week, and that is Erling Haaland. Again, for me, not the time to sell him this week in particular. I think I'll probably be looking at a game week 11 or game week 12 transfer out from him. My mind is sort of pushed 80% towards that. I just think Bournemouth is a fixture that he could put up numbers in. However, Man City actually ended up with a few injuries in their Carabao Cup game. Savinho went off on a stretcher. I think it's about the 63rd minute. Akanji got injured in the warm-up. So Man City's squad right now is really, really thin, especially in the wide areas. Grealish, Doku, Savinho, they're all out injured. Now, obviously, they've got Bernardo Silva and Foden who can play either side, but then it means that in the middle, they're going to have to probably play some youngsters in there. So Man City in particular, I think it's going to go either one or two ways for Haaland. Either he's going to be that much more relied on where he's going to have to score the goals, or he's going to be very isolated because he's got no creativity around him. But I'm not sure which way it's going to go. I think he probably will be my captain this week. I think it's between him and Palmer. I'm probably 60-40 in favour of him, but I definitely do like Cole Palmer and the upside he brings as well. But yeah, this is my final team. It's going to be a 3-4-3, and we're just hoping for some big points this week. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I will be back with an FPL challenge video tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that if you are somebody who plays. I'm going to be going over how I got on in the previous game week, but also we're going to be looking towards the challenge for game week 10 as well. But like I said, if you guys have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.